hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.
Take a toothpick out of my mouth. What you talking about, man?
Well, first we're going to speak about the thing that's happening 25th.
All right.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he asked the question, so I didn't want too much of that in.
And we'll get into so much other stuff, but welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki, and on Street Talk, what we do, we discuss things happening here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Political, social, and economics. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside.
Charles Thomas.
welcome in.
Thank you.
We got a lot to talk about. So, first of all, we got something coming up on the 25th.
Yeah, the Unity Project of Lansing is having its third show of its organization, and this one is going to be on Black economic growth, focusing on the Black Wall Street and of Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was destroyed in 1921 by invading whites, including going so far as to drop bombs from the air, using military to destroy a wealthy community that was rebuilt. And we want to roll out the history of that to show people what's possible when you aggregate and work together with an economic focus on the whole. And the same organization on June 10th, 2017, is having its second annual Malcolm X celebration, and this one's going to be outdoors, a much bigger event than last year, which was indoors. We plan to have guest speakers, activities for children and adults,
Vendors.
and vendors, make a day of it. So that's going to be at the Shabazz Academy on Barnes off Martin Luther King. So for both events, so if the public at large has an opportunity to come out, 10 to 2 on the 25th of February. And then I believe we're talking 11 till 6 on June 10th. That time frame may adjust, but that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Now, we was thinking about having vendors. Now, what about that? How that's going to go?
I'm not sure if we set a rate for the vendors or not, but we just trying to support them in every effort that's possible.
Okay.
Even the school, Shabazz Academy, we're trying to make them a beacon in the community because of the significance of Malcolm X
Okay.
and his drive for the black community. We want to unify the community. and do it in a way that's not offensive to anybody, because Malcolm was not an offensive person.
no.
Even though they exploited him as being a militant,
Oh yeah.
he
yeah.
was not a militant.
Yeah.
You know? He was just a brother from Lansing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we want to make sure that more people learn, you know, because right now probably 5% or 10% of the people in Lansing, and we've got probably got 113,000 now. It used to be 119, probably 113 now, but probably 5 of that 113,000 know something about Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Maybe that
Maybe on a good day.
right.
Yeah.
But you know, Malcolm was a man who asserted his First, Second, and Fourth Amendment rights unabashedly, and that made him offensive to some people because he had the wrong complexion, had too much melanin. So the way I look at it is, as I assert my rights, if someone finds that offensive, that's on them, not me. So I'm going to do my thing, and we'll let the chips fall where they may.
You know, when I at night I be reading about Malcolm and reading about Dr. King, and it's really strange. Neither lived to be 40 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
Young man.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I think about now, a guy here 39 years old, young man, you know, and both of them died before their 40th birthday.
Right. Yeah. I had the honor of knowing his brother Filbert,
Okay.
and he was a very compassionate man, and I'm quite sure that, you know, Malcolm was too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's just the media just rooted it and
Oh
put
yeah.
it.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that we talked about this. When Dr. King died, he only had 37% of blacks who agreed and
Approved of him.
approved of him.
Yeah.
37 and so it's really difficult to get through to our people about people like that. What do you think about it?
Well, people, and you see it today, the common people in the United States are discouraged to critically think, to delve into an issue, look at the factors objectively, and make a decision based on the facts about how they feel about it. So, if you're told by your clergy, your leaders, that that Martin is going a little bit too far. He's stepping out of his lane. He was fine when he's talking about civil rights, but now he's talking about economic justice, national boycotts, getting independence, getting out of Vietnam, calling the United States the greatest purveyor of violence in the world.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you get a lot of good colored folks scared, and the knees start shaking, and they start wondering what massa's gonna think of them if they say, "I like this kind of discussion," and they disapprove of it. So his approval rates plummeted. And I don't think they ever were above 50%. I've never seen a number that said he was approved by the majority of blacks. But they plummeted into the mid-30s, and the white community really thought that he had gone off the deep end and regarded him as a militant troublemaker, and his approval rating went to the 20s. And you know, now we have revisionist history. No one speaks about Martin Luther King more than Republicans.
Oh no!
You know, we got to have a dream. We need dream. You know, you don't know anything about the man.
No.
I've had many conversations with him and said, man, look, the dream was that dream comment was something that was an off-the-cuff comment that was motivated by the gospel singer, and I wish I could remember her name. I could see her face in front of me. Mahalia Jackson. And he mentioned that he told her he'd had this dream
Right.
one day.
Yeah. She
And so he
sung
threw
for
it into the speech. But that was not the purpose of his speech. And
No.
if you listen to the speech, it was all about economic justice. But see, Mike Pence and Marco Rubio and any of those cats, Donald Trump can't read, so we know he didn't do
Right.
it. But any of those cats never read the speech. They don't respect the man. They
No,
just
no.
use that as a way to try to say, I don't hate you darkies too much.
Yeah, yeah.
And why don't you just be good like your man and have a dream and we'll
Yeah,
all get
yeah,
along
yeah.
while I'm still putting a foot on your neck.
Yeah,
And then when you go to Malcolm, who was unabashedly independent and unafraid, of course, he was verboten.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't get too close to him if you
Right.
were going to be a good Negro.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, man, a lot of that attitude continues to this very day. I had a conversation with a person. I won't even talk about the context of it, but the idea that you could talk about white supremacy, just those two words,
yeah.
was something they weren't comfortable discussing
Yeah,
within the
yeah,
organization.
Yeah,
I was initially a little put aback, but then I thought about it and said, well, this is typical.
Yeah. Conditioning.
Yeah.
And Martin, to me, he even went as far as saying take your money out of the white bank
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and put it into a black institution. You know.
Yeah.
Said
And
the
the
same thing
boy-
about insurance
Yeah,
companies.
yeah. And the boycott was a success. But, the preacher man didn't go for that.
Right,
And
right.
he was backed by preachers. And what was it? Reverend Billy Kyle. He was the one that set him up for assassination.
One of the ones.
Yeah, he made a Freudian slip. He said, I step back so that you can have a clear shot.
Sure did.
Yeah.
And Dick Gregory got that on tape. So he was surrounded by enemies
And
of our community.
yeah.
And they still in our community.
Yeah.
And they're growing at a rapid rate. Every year there's 5 or 6 churches that open up. And they teaching the same rhetoric.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Turn another cheek.
yeah. That's one of the things that we as a people, and we've discussed this a bunch of times. It seems as though there's that there's some of us who going to be out here trying, but we got a whole bunch of them. Oh no, that's wrong. That's wrong. And it makes me always think about Frederick Douglass, man. When Douglass tried to escape FaceTime, the 2 guys with him had already told the man that he was going to try to
run.
escape. Next time, they get out there and they get to the boat, boom. Oh. Guys had already told the man that they was going to try to escape. The third time, he left by himself.
So, yeah.
And he got away. So, ever since we not been here, because I don't want to say scientist, but somebody other week found bones, said that we been here 1,700 years.
Oh, longer than that.
Yeah.
Longer than that, David Imhotep wrote a book that I recommend to anyone. It's called The First Americans Were African, Documented Evidence. And he uses 11 different categories of science to show that the very first human beings that came to what we call North, Central, and South America came here at least 56,000 years ago. I repeat, 56,000 years ago, civilized. Knew how to sail, knew how to build, knew how to write,
Navigation.
had the metanet, or what the Greeks call hieroglyphics, here in the United States. Pyramids, what they now call mounds, et cetera, et cetera. And the archaeological evidence shows that it's been around at least 56,000 years ago. So, the idea that civilization is only 3,500 years old is a way to attenuate history so that the European is astride and at top of civilization. But it's a fantasy. It's clearly not true. Going back to an earlier statement you mentioned, Harriet Tubman was famous for having that shotgun. And she said that I freed so many black folks, but I would have freed a whole lot
Right,
more
yeah.
had they known they weren't free.
Yeah.
And she said that the shotgun wasn't necessarily for the people that were chasing her. It was for the people she freed that changed their mind and thought about going back. She's like, oh, no, baby, I can't let you go.
Yeah.
You can't leave. You either going to come with me or you going to stay right here and fertilize the tree.
Yeah.
So the idea, though, that Africans here in America, in Central and South America, is being submissive and weak and needing a leader is something that's often taken as an insult by conscious black men and women. But I'm reading an interesting book right now, and I may have mentioned this to you before. It's called The Island of Memes, and it's in the context of the Haitian Revolution, where they overthrew the French and became the very first enslaved Africans to create successfully revolt and create their own democracy. They created a republic. And in The Island of Memes, they describe a meme as a unit of institutional memory that's passed down from generation to generation, and it's predicated on all of your senses. Not just what you see, not just what you hear, not just what you're told and what you read, but the body language and the unspoken signals you get from people, and the physical interaction and the endorsement or the rejection of things that you do and say. All lead you to modify your behavior so that you can successfully navigate this environment you're in. It's like a survival mechanism.
A psychological makeover.
Absolutely. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. To me, it's been. I look at psychiatrists today, and they can't even identify that there is a problem or that we have been bamboozled. They'll take their education and they'll assume, they'll avoid the truth about psychology.
Yeah.
But they know the effects of what their subject is, but they are afraid to speak up for what's right and bad behavior. And we've been under the influence of bad behavior so long, we think it's normal.
Yeah.
Because of that psychological makeover.
That's exactly the point of the book, Chuck. The author, I should mention it for people who are curious, is called The Island of Memes by Wade Noble. And he's a psychologist, and he differentiates the African mind, defined as those cultural norms that we take out of Africa before the invasion or before the enslavement and invasion of Europeans, what their cultural meme was, as opposed to what it is here today. So yeah, there's a stark difference, and now you see the same thing done with history. Black psychologists won't, if they know, won't divulge you what your healthy mind should look like. And I see the same thing with history. I'm reading a book right now that was given to me by a friend, and it talks about and it's 500 books plus footnotes. I mean, it's one of these books like this, and they go into the history of racism in North America. It's a well-written book, but right from the jump, man, I got discouraged and looked at the book side-eyed, put it down for a while, because they talk about the context of what happened in Spain when Spain was invaded by the Moors. They describe this black man who teaches at Virginia Tech, describes the Moors as Arabs who came from North Africa. Now, if you know your history, you know that the Arab invasion started in North Africa in the 7th century AD. If you look at the invasion of Spain and Portugal by the Moors, that happened in 711 AD. So you're talking a simultaneous invasion and cultural transmission of thoughts, ideas, knowledge, all happening simultaneously in North Africa and then moving on to the peninsula there. And the idea is absurd because when you look at people who really dig in, they talk about the fact that the Moors took the science, the math, the architecture, the high level of learning that was taught in the Nile Valley for tens of thousands of years with them into Spain when they built those universities, when they built those schools, when they built those buildings. The very same culture. And they were described as black-skinned men by the people who were there. Now, here's a brother. Pardon?
Was that they called the Renaissance?
Well, the Renaissance means to rise again, and that happened in the 15th century, about the time that the transatlantic slave trade started. So you had the Roman Empire, which went into decline because of the Huns and the Goths, the Germans. And you went through a period of time called the Dark Ages in Europe, where you had the Catholic Church, which was established in 325 AD, and they suppressed all learning, all knowledge. It's all about Jesus. It's all about this cross. It's all about the church, and anything else is satanic. It's a sin.
Right.
Same thing has been taught to
Savage.
black folks here.
Oh, yeah.
And so from 325 AD until the Renaissance, all through Europe, you had what they call the Dark Ages: disease, lack of hygiene, lack of education, lack of good food, all of these things. But you had this one period which lasted 800 years, from 711 to 1492, when the Moors ruled Spain and had imprints all over Europe, where you had this high-level culture and this high-level civilization being established there, who were described by the people who lived under them, their subjects, as black men and women. They called them Moorish.
Okay.
You saw names like Maurice come out of that because that meant black. I mean, the evidence is all over the place. Now, if I know this brother with the PhD knows this too.
Right.
Yeah.
But somehow
Stewards
he
and
can't
all
do it. He can't tell that part of the story, just like the black psychologist can't tell you what a young black or male or female coming into his office with pathologies is getting those from.
Yeah.
It's a denial of what's real,
Right.
in order to try to get along, to go along. It's time to put that stuff
Right.
away.
Yeah, because you're only hurting yourself.
Exactly. Exactly.
This morning, man, I was at the Y, and you know, me and his brother, we talk. Good brother, but him and white guy got to talking. A younger white guy who had been in Iraq, and so they, the black guy, you know, you gotta have Jesus, gotta have, and so I you know, I pulled my, we were sitting in the heat, I just pulled my
Towel
over your head.
back over my head and just, you know, it's like, I ain't no use to even.
So here we go again.
Yeah. It's like, ain't no use to even me getting in this conversation, you know, because me and the guy was talking about. He's from Alabama. We was talking about, you know, going down south in the wintertime and how the road can be good to Indianapolis, and then the road can be bad to other side of Indianapolis. Then it get pretty good going on down south, and then you coming back, you can. You know, you be driving long nights, and then you get almost in Indianapolis, and it's something else. You know, it's like it's bad again. So we was talking about that, man, and him and this white guy got to talking about. I just pulled my towel back over my head. So, you know, it's like.
But see, that's allowed though. If you look at the one time enslaved Africans were allowed to sit together and be together when they weren't working brutally from sun up to sundown, was when they could sit down in a building that they called church and talk about stories out of the Bible. That was allowed.
Yeah.
It was almost encouraged. I mean, we saw it
Nat Turner.
in the Nat Turner movie, where they wanted these Africans subjugated by this myth of white Jesus. So
Your master.
yeah, a good master. Turn the other cheek, be obedient, a good slave. That's part of your duty. And your reward's going to be when you're dead, you're going to get some pie in the sky.
And they still perpetuating
Of
that.
course.
Yep.
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey man, if I had $1 for every time I told a brother that I didn't go for that, and I told him why I didn't go for that, and they swelled up and got angry at me, I wouldn't have enough room in my pocket. Because I'm not one to proselytize. I'm not. I don't tell people what to believe.
No.
But if you come to me and you say, thus and so is what you need to do, I'll ask a question naturally. Why should I do that?
Yeah.
Because blah, blah, blah. Well, who told you that?
Yeah.
Well, it says in the Bible. Well, who wrote the Bible?
Yeah.
God did. Well, who told you God did?
Yeah.
When you start digging down, you can only, it only takes an inch of dirt away,
Yeah. Right.
and you realize there's nothing there. Now, when I know more about the origins of the Bible, who wrote it, when they wrote it, why they wrote it, and under what circumstances, and the person who believes in it, we
Yeah.
got a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
We got a problem.
Yeah. And I was just thinking this last week, you know, like you said, you know, you can't find where Jesus was buried at, you can't find the ark and all that. They want you to look for all that. But I can show you the original man. I can show you the people of Adam. That's the African American people. That's a real thing. But we've been duped.
Yeah.
And we don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
who we are.
Yeah.
But they did that intentionally. But you can't show me an ark. You can't show me where Abraham's buried at.
Right.
You can't show me none of that.
Right.
Of course
But I
not.
can show you that.
Can't show me a pebble of King Solomon's temple.
Yeah.
But I can show you where Queen T lived.
Yeah.
I can show you where Imhotep was buried.
Yeah.
I can show you where Zozier was. I
Yeah.
can show you what their statues were, where they lived, what they wrote, and who went to school with.
Yeah, evident.
Evidence.
Yeah.
Evidence that's easily attainable. I can show you the original Holy Trinity and the story behind it, and the 15 Holy Trinities that came before the Christian Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
But you start telling somebody who's a devout Christian that if they don't shoot you, they're gonna drop down and start praying for you, pray that you go to hell
Yeah.
real
Right.
fast
Yeah,
and get out
yeah,
their
yeah,
face.
you out of your mind.
So
Yeah.
it's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
That's why I leave it alone.
Yeah.
Unless somebody comes to me and asks, and
Yeah.
I don't feel any compunction to lie about
But
it.
I think it's better if we meet it head on and stop pussyfooting around.
You do,
Yeah.
and I do,
Yeah.
but a lot of black folks don't, man.
But they're gonna have to suck it up, man.
We've got about
Or keep living the way we living.
Yeah.
we've got about 2.5 minutes, man. What can we do? You know, we're trying to do some things now, but do you think we're going to be successful with what we're trying to show some of the people?
Unity
do.
Project? I do too.
Well, yeah, the Unity Project, but as a people of the African diaspora, I see Africans all over the world who are looking back to the motherland for the source of their spiritual desire to know God. Because if there's a group of people on the planet who are more spiritual than black folks, I wish somebody showed them to me.
Me too.
So I think more and more people are looking back in their Sankofa. They're going back to where we came from. And I think it's going to take several more generations. Might take 200 or 300 years, but we're going to get to the point where we put all this mythology down and
Right.
establish ourselves again.
That's right.
Brother,
I
what do
feel
you
the
think?
same way that Dennis feels, because by nature we are a spiritual person. Religion is just diluting everything, and it's taking us out of our human vibration. Spirituality takes us and connects us to the universe. Adam was made from the earth. He was made from the mud. So other people can't say that for themselves.
Right.
But they got to practice something in order to get spirituality. But we got it by nature. But we've been duped out of it. So we just got to come back to who we really are and start working together and quit all this division.
Okay, we go on, but we won't tonight. My name is Ahmad Shakaraka, and we catch you down the next block. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, you know,
We on TV, man?
it's
I'm glad you're back.
he had a 2-pull. He said,
Yeah.
"Boy,
The feeling come back in.
hey man."
MSU gymnastics coach suspended. Kathy Cleggs has been suspended as a sexual assault investigation moves. I was going to ask you, man, you know that.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.